What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bring you a random Saturday upload because I felt like it, and this was a very, very cool deck that I found centered around. It's like Talonflame, Aerodactyl, and then Maxie's targets. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and click that subscribe button. It helps us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, because this is just a really random, because I felt like it, upload, I'm not really going to do a particular question of the day. However, in place of that, I will go ahead and ask that if you guys have any deck ideas that you'd like to see me do, please leave them in the comment section down below. And a little bit of background on doing deck lists from subscribers. I try my best to look at all of the ideas, make decks with them, and then do them when I can. However, with my very, very busy schedule, I have to plan out what decks I'm going to do when ahead of time. And so I don't always get to some ideas. That doesn't mean that I think your idea is bad. That doesn't mean that I didn't like your idea. There are some ideas that I'm just very unfortunately not able to do, so I do apologize for that. However, if you leave a deck idea in the comments section down below, I will do my very best to look at it, build a deck with it, and then see if I can do a live with it. So yeah, if you guys have any suggestions, leave them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear what kind of cool decks you guys are using. But anyway, on to the deck. Like I said, centered around Aerodactyl, and a long time ago when Fates Collide first came out, I did an Aerodactyl deck with the combination of, I think it was Archies and Omastar. This one, you use Maxies because of all of the really great Maxies targets in Expanded, and then you just use Old Amber and Fossil Restoration and all that to try to get as many Aerodactyls on the bench as possible. So it's a really, really cool concept that works actually surprisingly well. You have a couple different starters that you can start with, but the main starter you want to go with is Talonflame, so you really hope that that's in your opening hand, because Aero Blitz allows you to get two of any card, or get two cards from your deck, and then be able to have them for next turn. So just great for setup, great. I mean, even 40 damage is actually pretty cool, and then it has free retreat. So Talonflame, just amazing, amazing, amazing in this deck. And then being able to swarm Aerodactyls turn one is really, really cool. But anyway, I'm just going to go straight through the deck, because it's really just, I mean, it's centered around Aerodactyl and then Maxie's targets. But there are a bunch of little texts here and there. And then just to let you guys know, the list that I kind of copied this from, I believe this deck was used in St. Louis Regionals, but I couldn't find an exact deck list. So I found it. I found the list from Little Dark Fury that I decided to tweak into the list that you have before you guys. So shoutouts to him, and go ahead and check out his channel if you want to see that original deck list. But anyway, on to just the deck one by one. Aerodactyl, 120 HP, so not bad. Not super bulky, but not like super weak. One prize attacker. For a DCE, Jet Draft does 120, you discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Basically, Aerodactyl is a really, really, really good mon. I mean, it doesn't hit for a ton of damage. It's a little bit clunky to get out, but once you get it out, free retreat, decent HP, solid attack for a cheap attack cost. It's very cool, and this deck relies on taking those two shots from Jet Draft, which you're almost always able to get. I mean, Jet Draft, 2-hit KOs, pretty much everything in the game except for like the 250 HP EXs and GXs. So we're running 4 Aerodactyl, main attacker in the deck. And then this is a card that I've never used before, but I actually think is really cool in this deck in particular, Dunsparce. 40 HP, and normally Dunsparce you think of as very useless because, I mean, let's be real, Dunsparce kind of is. However, Second Bite pairs perfectly in this deck. With Aerodactyl, you're not going to be taking a bunch of one-hit KOs, so you're going to be hitting your opponent for 120, then they're going to knock your Aerodactyl out, and you have to figure out how you're going to take the rest of the damage. Dunsparce is a great way to do that with Second Bite, 10 damage, and then does 10 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. Finishes up what Aerodactyl puts out there. This thing also has free retreat, so starting with it is not a bad thing at all, because you can just free retreat into Aerodactyl and stuff like that. And while it is a very weak attacker, Second Bite finishes off quite a few attacks from quite a few different Pokemon, like Sensitive Blade, Aerodactyl's Jet Draft, and then even Rage or Horn Attack from Tauros if you're unable to get a one-hit KO. So Dunsparce, very, very, very cool attacker. Running 3 Talonflame. We're not running 4 just because there really wasn't that much room in this deck for 4 Talonflame. I would have liked to run 4, but unfortunately 3 was what I ended up going with after testing out both. And then Talonflame, you're able to start with it if you have it in your opening hand, and then Aeroblitz, single energy, 40 damage. Shuffle, search your deck for 2 cards and put them in your hand. Shuffle your deck afterward. Basically, very, very, very strong search option. And against like Night March and stuff like that, you can take a knockout while being able to search your deck for cards. One Shaymin, just because Shaymin is so ridiculously strong, you don't want to run too many of them because then you'll end up starting with them, and that's not a thing you want to have happen at all. However, Shaymin is still very, very strong. It's able to just draw you cards. That way you can potentially draw into what you need to be able to pull off a Maxie later in the turn. One Tauros just as kind of a damage sponge early on, and also it completely attacks for DCEs, and it's a GX attacker, so fits in perfectly with this deck. And then as for the Maxie's targets, we have 3 of them. We have one Archeops, great against evolution decks, shuts those down completely against decks like Vileplume, Decidueye. You'd have so much trouble. However, if you are able to go first or get an Archeops down before they're able to play their Vileplume, all of a sudden you're just in the driver's seat because they can't evolve anymore, and you can just keep attacking from there. Another target is Marowak with Bodyguard. Prevent all effects of attacks done to you or your hand by your opponent's Pokemon. Remove any existing effects. Basically, it's a screw you Seismitoad. You're not going to be able to... Well, actually, this is both for Seismitoad and Giratina. Giratina would lock this deck because you don't have to, because you wouldn't be able to attach DCEs. Seismitoad obviously item locks you. Marowak is just like, yeah, screw you guys, I'm going to be able to use items and DCEs. And then finally, the main Maxie's target of this deck, Gallade, with Sensitive Blade for a DCE, hits for 130 damage if you use a supporter during the turn. And then Premonition, once during your turn, you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck and rearrange them. That's ridiculously strong. And is a, I mean, if this was an ability on a basic Pokemon, I could see it be run in almost every single deck. However, unfortunately, Gallade is Stage 2, but pairs perfectly with Maxies. And one kind of cool thing, Aerodactyl and Talonflame both struggle with Lightning-type Pokemon. Lightning types are usually weak to fighting, which is where Gallade comes into play. So a little bit of cool type synergy there. And then as for the items, we just have a crap load of cards that help us discard, help us search, and then try to pull off a Maxie's as quickly and as frequently as possible while also getting Aerodactyls into play. Trainer's Mail and Acro Bike, straight up for the ability to search and mull through your deck. I mean, just go through as many cards as possible, get the cards that you need, discard the cards that you don't want. Speaking of discarding, we have 3 Battle Compressor to be able to throw these guys in the discard pile, as well as a copy of Maxie's, just because those guys do absolutely nothing for you in the deck. They are only good in the discard pile. Battle Compressors are a way to be like, okay, let's look through my deck, and I don't want you there, you're in the discard pile now. One Computer Search, get that last puzzle piece you need. I mean, I know I say that a lot, but particularly in this deck, it's all about figuring out what combination of cards can lead to a Maxie's while also not just discarding a ton of resources turn 1. So Computer Search gets you not only discards, but gets you that other thing that you need. Running 3 Fossil Excavation Kits to go along with Old Amber Aerodactyl. Just basically, though, Old Amber is the way that we're going to get Aerodactyl out, apart from Twist Mountain, but I'll get to that in a little bit. And we just, I mean, Old Amber is awesome for getting Aerodactyl out, but look at the bottom 7 cards of your deck, you may reveal an Aerodactyl you find there and put it on your bench. That's a awesome search way of getting Aerodactyl out, but unfortunately, if you only run 4 Old Amber, you're maybe going to hit 2 Aerodactyl. Like, just straight up with the odds, I did not do any statistical analysis at all, but odds are, with only 4 Old Amber, and 4 Aerodactyl, and you play it on your first turn, you're only probably going to hit 1 or 2 Aerodactyls. Fossil Excavation Kit lets us put 2 of those back into our hand and just retry until we get the Aerodactyls that we want. Puzzle of Time lets us potentially use cards from our discard pile
and just get 2 of them back, be able to reuse them. Really strong. And then also a cool type of synergy is Puzzle of Time and Battle Compressor, because if you have 2 in your hand, because if you have 2 Puzzle of Time in your hand and you Battle Compressor 2 things that you want in your hand into the discard pile, then you can just Puzzle of Time straight for them. I haven't done that admittedly with this deck, but it's still a cool combination to have. As for retrieving Pokemon, we have one special retrieving resources, sorry. We have 1 special charge to be able to put back our some of our 4 DCE, because that's the only energy we run in the deck, and if those get discarded, well, we can't attack. So special charge is there for that. Super Rod allows us to put back Aerodactyls, because Aerodactyl, while it hits nicely, it's not bulky enough to survive multiple hits, so Aerodactyl's going to get knocked out. Super Rod allows us to put those back into our deck later to potentially revive with Old Amber. 3 Ultra Ball guarantees gets us what Pokemon we want when we want it. Also discards. 4 via Seeker reuse all of our supporters. Then as for these supporters, it's 1/1 of N and Sycamore, just to have that consistent draw support or disruption late in the game. 1 Kukui, because Aerodactyl 120 doesn't hit nearly hard enough in a lot of cases, so Kukui just allows you to hit for that extra 20 damage while also drawing a couple cards. 2 Maxies, that's the main draw supporter of this deck. That's the draw supporter you're going to want to use more than half the time. And then, I mean, that's what this deck relies around, is being able to Maxie, get the fighting Pokemon that you want onto your bench and go from there. And then 1 Lysandre, just pick off Shaymins with Jet Draft. As for the stadium, we were running a copy of Twist Mountain to not only counter Parallel City, so that we do have our ability to have a full bench, but once during your turn, once during either player's turn, that player may flip a coin. If heads, that player puts a restored Pokemon from his or her hand onto his or her bench. Apart from Old Amber, this is also a way of getting Aerodactyl onto the bench if you don't have the Aerodactyl in the deck. If the Aerodactyl's in your hand, it's a dead card. You can't use it. Twist Mountain is a way of being like, actually, I can still put Aerodactyl on the bench. As for the tools, running 1 Float Stone in case we start like Tauros, or if we bring out Archeops or Marowak, because one way our opponent could stall us is by Lysandering up either of those guys and then just kind of buying themselves time. However, Float Stone's like, okay, these guys have free retreat, calm down. Then we're also running 2 Muscle Band to help boost damage from Aerodactyl, Talonflame, all of our Pokemon as much as possible. And then 4 DCEs, because all of our attacks rely on DCEs. So yeah, I talked for way too long, but this deck is very, very in-depth. I'll just show you how it's supposed to work in a match right now. Alrighty, we have found one against a, well, that's a Volcanion deck. Yep, and by the coin, that's a Volcanion. That is a 100% Volcanion coin, so, and we see the water and fire, so this is a Volcanion deck. This will be a very interesting matchup, actually, because I think this is one of the particular matchups that this deck struggles with the most. We do start off with a Talonflame, which is very nice, and we will get a couple mulligan card. We'll get 1 mulligan card off of that. So I mean that's helpful as well. This is a hand that I can work with. Let's see, my opponent mulliganing a couple times, so that's super beneficial for me. And the reason that this matchup is difficult for this deck is because this deck struggles to take 1-hit knockouts. Well, I mean, not really. I mean, against certain decks it doesn't, but in certain matchups it really does. And there's really no way of having just big damage on the board. I mean, there's no way of having just 1 huge damage attack. The biggest way that you can get hit for big damage is either having a Dunsparce second bite for a bunch of damage after you already jet draft, or by having a Tauros take a hit and then being able to Rage or Mad Bull GX, but even in that case, Tauros is going to give up a couple prizes. So, I mean, this is just going to be a tough matchup overall, and we see Nest Ball and Dive Ball utilized by my opponent. That's not something you ever really see in a Volcanion deck, but I'll be honest, it's really kind of cool, because it's like, oh yeah, I can Dive Ball for a Fire-type Pokemon. I mean, yes, Volcanion EX is dual Water and Fire-type, so I mean, yeah, I know all that. But okay, let's see, what can I get? Let's go ahead and Battle Compressor, get rid of both Gallade and 1 of my Maxies. This turn's going to be tricky. It's going to be really tricky to see if I can pull this off. So I'm going to grab a Trainer's Mail, see if I can get like a Computer Search or something like that, and I don't.
So I'm not going to be able to pull off a Maxie's this turn, which is kind of sad, but I mean, it's not overly necessary in this matchup. It's nice, but it's not ridiculously necessary, and yeah, I mean, I can't even really play the Shaymin, so I'm just going to Sycamore away my hand. And okay, this is something I can work with to pull off a Maxie's for next turn. Let's go ahead and Tauros, and then Old Amber. I whiffed that one. Let's see if I can Old Amber again, see if I can get something off that. And I do hit one. So one Aerodactyl, and then one's already discarded. And then I'll play the Muscle Band there onto this Aerodactyl. And then I'm going to Aero Blitz. I'm wondering what for. So I'm going to Aero Blitz, obviously, this turn, just to get that 40 damage, set it up to be knocked out by a Jet Draft next turn. But, oh my gosh, 2 were prized. 2 of my Aerodactyls are prized. That is horrible. So I need something this turn that's going to allow me to play out my hand no matter what I draw off the top of my deck. Because, I mean, with Computer Search, I can simply discard something off the top of my deck if, like, I need to. I can simply discard that with Computer Search if it's something I can't play, or if it is something I can play, then I can just Computer Search, get rid of Fossil Excavation. So I'm really just trying to set up a next turn Maxie's as best I can, and I'm pretty sure I've done that, especially with my opponent not not disrupting my hand in any way. Unfortunately, my opponent is starting to get set up, which is very, very scary and is going to be a huge problem. He will be able to double steam up, hit me for 90. That Flareon is going to be a huge problem because it's going to knock something out. So, okay, I do draw the Ultra Ball, which is something I can just get rid of. That's fine. Let's go ahead and Computer Search, get rid of the Ultra Ball and the Talonflame to grab a, you know what, yeah, let's just grab a DCE, play that, well, So let's go ahead and, well, let's first Fossil Excavation, because I mean, I have to play that out. I know that there's no Aerodactyl in my deck, but it's just a card that I can play out, play my hand down to 0, so that I will be able to Maxie's this turn. Yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead and play the DCE onto Aerodactyl, Special Charge, put 1 DCE back into the deck, and unfortunately, my Puzzle of Time, I already had to get rid of 1 copy, so that means I have 1 double puzzle that I'll be able to utilize for the rest of the game. But on the bright side, we do get a Maxie's out for a Gallade. Get another... Okay, let's see what I can get. Alright, so I get another Fossil Excavation. I mean, these are just kind of worthless at this point. I need my Super Rod, but my Super Rod is also prized. So, really, everything that could possibly keep me in this match right now, unfortunately, is prized. And, yeah, that just kind of really blows. On the positive note, I do get a Dunsparce. So, I mean, honestly, I'm just playing these out so that way N cannot affect me as much as, like, can't affect me to where I draw a dead card. So I'm just playing those out. I mean, two of my, 2 Aerodactyls are prized. My Super Rod is prized. And then, let's see, what can I get off of this Premonition? What do I want to put at the top of my deck? Let's put the Battle Compressor up top. Yeah, that way I can go ahead and just put that up there, be able to draw into that next turn, thin out my deck, and then end when I need to. And then let's knock out this Volcanion with a Jet Draft, take a prize, pray it's an Aerodactyl. It is not, it's a Puzzle of Time, but you know what, I think I'll be able to work with that. I mean, this matchup was already bad enough for my, for this deck without having my opponent be able to just, without my opponent being able to get up a big Flareon, because, I mean, like I said, this deck struggles with just like one turn where I need a big hit. This deck does not have that. It has the ability to hit for like, has the ability to hit KO almost everything with combination of like Jet Draft, Horn Attack, and then Sensitive Blade, and then Second Bite. But in itself, this deck does not have the ability to just take giant hits. So my Aerodactyl is going to go down. I'm going to lose a DCE. And now I'm just going to have to hit my opponent's Flareon in order to be able to, like, even just set it up. So I'll have to be knocked out again in order to be able to do that. So I am just going to go ahead and Battle Compressor. get rid of the Archeops and the other Battle Compressor, and then let's just get rid of the Ultra Ball. There's nothing else I need in the deck. DCE onto the Gallade, because I'm going to have to just Sensitive Blade, sack my Gallade, and go from there. So, I mean, that's very... Oi. This is not looking good. On the bright side, I do have the ability to double puzzle next turn. Unfortunately, again, I still don't have my Super Rod. So I'm not able to get those Aerodactyls back in the deck. So if I want to get an Aerodactyl back in the deck, I'm literally just going to have to puzzle. Literally just going to have to double puzzle for an Aerodactyl, which, again, can't be searched out with Fossil Excavation or a... with a Fossil Excavation or Old Amber, because it'd be in my hand and not in my deck. So what I am going to do is just go ahead and put the VS Seeker on top. Yeah, put the VS Seeker on top, because my opponent is going to be able to knock out my Gallade this coming turn. So I'm going to have to do something. I'm going to have some kind of big turn in order to be able to do it. I might even be able to pull off another Maxie's. But let's go ahead and Sensitive Blade, set it up to at least be knocked out by the Dunsparce this coming turn. I mean, at the very least, let it be knocked out by Dunsparce. And then if I get a... Well, when I get the VS Seeker, I can double puzzle for some stuff that lets me... I mean, wait, crap. If I want to pull off another Maxie's, I won't even be able to double puzzle for an Aerodactyl, because that means the stuff will go right back into my hand, and I have to be able to play out my hand. So... Oy vey. This is not looking good. And I mean, even though my opponent didn't have Shaymin or Hoopa, he's been able to get set up very well, and he's going to be able to take yet another prize. So while we will actually be even up on prizes, I mean, after I take a knockout on the Flareon, Dunsparce is going to go down to another Steam Up, which means my opponent will be able to take a knockout while being able to power up his attackers in the back. So I mean, that's why this matchup is so bad for this deck. Like... We're just not able to... The math just doesn't work out for us, and my opponent is able to take prizes off the little small attacks that he uses to get set up. And yeah, let's just go ahead and DCE up the Dunsparce, because there's nothing else we can do. Once again, the DCE turned into a Fire Energy. I don't even know anymore. But let's go ahead and double puzzle, grab a Special Charge to be able to put 2 of the DCE back into the deck. And then I need to just grab an Aerodactyl. This will not allow me to Maxie's this turn, but I need to have some way of getting an Aerodactyl in play. So, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to play the Special Charge now, or do I want to wait? I think the play is to wait. That way, if I end and I don't draw into my Aerodactyl, I will have a better chance of hitting my Old Ambers. So, okay, luckily I do not draw into my Aerodactyl. And then I draw into a couple Acro Bikes, which means I will be able to hit the Aerodactyl off of that. But let's go ahead and actually... Ooh, this is nice. Let's go ahead and Puzzle of Time, so that I do hit an Acro Bike in a good order. Let's grab the Old Amber off of that. I'm guaranteed to hit this. So let's go ahead and play that down, put the Aerodactyl down. I even have my Twist Mountain, which could come in handy if I'm able to get Aerodactyl off the prizes. Muscle Band up my Aerodactyl. And then let's just second bite. Knock out this Flareon. My opponent will be able to take a prize off me. But if I can get 2 good prizes, then I have a chance. Oh my god. So my last 3 prizes are my 2 Aerodactyl and my Super Rod. Though I needed just 1 of those to have a chance. But nope, I get... Nah, that is ridiculously annoying. Oh man, that's... Yeah, Pretzel Sticks is starting to come out here because, I mean, the 3 prizes... Well, first of all, 3 significant cards are prized. Like, this deck is centered around Aerodactyl, and half my Aerodactyls are prized. And then, to top it all off, I just can't get either of my Aerodactyls or my Super Rod off of my 3 prizes, to where those are literally the last 3 prizes I have. So, I mean, I just... Oh, boy. This is just bad, and it's not getting any better. Because my opponent even has another Flareon that he's going to get powered up in the background this turn. Wow. Crap. So, I mean, I'm just going to promote Talonflame because free retreat. See if I can get something off that. I mean, I get the special charge, so I'll be able to get a couple of my DCEs back into the deck and be able to use those. Let's just see what we can get when we get a DCE. That's fine. Play that onto the Tauros. I mean, I think, honestly, I'm just going to have to put up Tauros to try to deter my opponent from attacking me. Like, try to buy a turn. That's all I can do at this point is just put up Tauros, try to buy a turn, and then maybe I can Lysandre up that Flareon next turn and knock it out if my opponent does decide to just Power Heater. That's the only opportunity that I have to win the game at this point. Because, I mean, man, both of my half my Aerodactyls and my Super Rod are my last 3 prizes, and I just needed any of those. Oh my gosh, that is... I'm mad. I'm mad. I mean, the way my opponent's playing it, if he has a switch card, I lose. Like, if he has a way of getting his Volcanion out of the active, he's going to be able to one-shot my Tauros, take 2 prizes, and yeah, okay, there's a switch, I'm out of here. Like, that's... Oh my gosh, that's just stupid. Like, I'm sorry, I'm really trying to work on my saltiness, but like that match was just Murphy's frickin' law of, I mean, everything, a lot of stuff that I needed was prized. It was a bad matchup to begin with, and then my opponent drew everything they needed every single turn, so yeah, very unfortunate. I mean, that's why this deck is not super good. I mean, it's solid, but it's not like super good just because of the very bad matchups it has. So unfortunate that that's how this match had to go, but it happens. Either way, I'm gonna try to find. That was still a good match overall, but still, just we got some very, very bad luck in a couple situations. But anyway, I'm gonna try to find another one. I am not ending this on a loss. Alrighty, we found another one against Top Bruz, and it looks like we are up against Night March, and if it's Night March, I'm just going to cry, and then probably click X, because literally the only chance against Night March I would have is if I started Tauros. And actually, no, not even that, because then my opponent would be able to still hit me. Yeah, yeah, this is just going to be bad. This is probably just going to go horribly, horribly wrong. I mean, going second, that's... Well, I guess... I don't know. But either way, the only chance I'd have is, like, going second with Tauros. My opponent doesn't, fighting Fury Belt up their Joltik or Pumpkaboo. I'm able to take a prize off them. Then they bring up something else, hit me, I take a prize off them. Or, like, I Lysandre up a Shaymin and knock it out. I mean, I do start the Tauros. And then I start with a hand that I might be able to do something with. So we will definitely see. But yeah, if this is Night March, this is going to be a very, very, very difficult matchup. And, okay, we see a Megamanectric. This is interesting. Oh, you know what this is? This is the Megamanectric toolbox type of deck with Mewtwo and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of an Archeops, a Gallade, and a Maxie. Just have those in the discard pile. Yeah, let's go ahead and Battle Compressor. Grab that as well. Grab another one. That way I can just get all my fighting Pokemon into the discard pile. And then let's throw a Talonflame in there as well. Because if you don't start Talonflame, it is just a dead card in your deck, and while I could Muscle Band up my Tauros, I'm going to hold off on that. And, okay. I draw into some stuff that I can definitely use for next turn. Let's go ahead and grab the old Amber, see if we can hit an Aerodactyl turn 1, which we do. That is very nice right there. I'll be able to play that down right there. Go ahead and... Do I want to Muscle Band up my Aerodactyl? I think so. Yeah, let's go ahead and Muscle Band up the Aerodactyl. And I'm going to hold off on playing the Ultra Ball, because if I draw like a Talonflame or something off my top deck, I can Ultra Ball, get rid of the Sycamore and that Talonflame, grab just something that I... Grab like Dunsparce or something like that, play that down, go for the Fossil Excavation Kit, grab that old Amber back, see if I can get another Aerodactyl down, and then I'll be able to Maxie's for a Gallade this next turn. So it's actually... I'm actually off to a pretty good start, and this is one of the competitive expanded decks that this Maxie's Aerodactyl deck actually has a decent matchup against, because while I know that the Manectrics will be able to one-shot like my Talonflames, Aerodactyls, Gallade is able to one-shot them right back, And then they also rely a little bit on DCE, which they play onto the Mewtwo, and then we can just discard that with Jet Draft. And my opponent does just attach an energy, Lysandre up my Aerodactyl, and go from there. And unfortunately, I draw my Super Rod, which is not the card I wanted to have to discard this early. But yeah, let's go ahead right now. Ultra Ball, grab a Dunsparce just because, play that sucker down, go for the Fossil Excavation Kit, grab one Old Amber, play that, see if we can hit an Aerodactyl, and we do. That is really nice. So I have 2 Aerodactyls up, and then I'm going to be able to Maxie's, grab a Gallade, and then if I get a DCE, I'll be able to knock this thing out this turn. That's nice. So let's play that there, go ahead and Old Amber, see if I can hit another Aerodactyl. I do not. Well, that's fine, and then I'm going to Premonition now because, I'll be honest, I'm probably going to have my Gallade get knocked out this next turn. Like, in all likelihood, Gallade is going to get knocked out by a response from the Mewtwo. Being able to just slap a DCE on and then X-Ball me to knock me out. So what I am going to do is try and decide how I want to play this. So let's go ahead and put the VS Seeker up top. Yeah, and then just rearrange those in that order. And then I'm going to be able to retreat into my Gallade and then one-shot this Manectric with a Sensitive Blade and take 2 prizes. So very, very excellent spot right off the bat. And alright, so I get a VS Seeker off of my prizes. Oh boy, I should have rearranged my cards a little bit better because then I would have been able to back-to-back Maxies because with the Acro Bike, I'm going to get... Actually, how do I want to do this? So yeah, we do see the X-Ball. Gonna be able to knock out my Gallade. That is fine. I mean, he takes 1 prize. I already took 2. I'm gonna promote one of my Aerodactyls, play the DCE onto the Muscle Banded one. Let's go ahead and Acro Bike, just try to get rid of that Talonflame. Grab the Aerodactyl. And then Ultra Ball, get rid of a VS Seeker and one of my Aerodactyls, probably to just grab the Shaymin. See if I can draw into some cards that would allow me to get another Maxie's going. Because if not, not too huge of a deal. But otherwise... Okay, let's go ahead and Trainer's Mail, see what I can get. I get a Muscle Band. That's pretty nice. So what I think... Do I want the Muscle Band? Or do I want to grab the Ultra Ball? Because I actually can Maxie's this turn if I grab the Ultra Ball. So what I think I'm going to do is just grab the Ultra Ball. I hate to get rid of another Aerodactyl and knowing that my Super Rod's already in the discard pile, and then also getting rid of a Puzzle of Time. But I already have 2 Aerodactyls on board. I mean, that's fine. I don't want another one anyway, because, I mean, that would take up space for my, Maxies. I'm going to go ahead and get the Old Ambers. I know that there are no Aerodactyl in my deck at this point. I'm just playing down my hand to 0 so that I can immediately just Maxie's once again, get that Aerodactyl back on, or not the Aerodactyl, get the Gallade back onto my board. And yeah, you knocked it out, but it is right back. And I even get a double puzzle. So let's go ahead and Muscle Band up the Aerodactyl. Do I want to Battle Compressor? I think I'm just going to do that. Thin out my deck a little bit for cards that I don't want. Let's get rid of my Lysandre so I have access to it later. And then the Acro Bike as well. Yeah, let's just go ahead and get rid of those. Because with my Puzzle of Time, I can put the Aerodactyls back into my deck, so I don't just want to get rid of all of my like Old Amber, Fossil Excavation Kit, and stuff like that. That way I can get Aerodactyls back later in the game. And then I'm going to actually hold on to my double puzzle, just because I really don't need to play it right now. Like, I want to save those for later when I can get the most use out of it, and when I can actually be like, okay, here is exactly what I need to play my double puzzle for. Because I mean, right now, I would just be playing the double puzzle like, well, I can. But I want to save it for later when I can be like, yeah, I am playing the double puzzle right now. My opponent brings up the Shaymin, headringers it, of course he does, plays an energy onto the Mewtwo, plays down in his own Shaymin. So yeah, that headringer is actually going to be really annoying, because what I could have done otherwise is attach to DCE and then Sky Returned. But, I mean, it's fine. My opponent does play down a Tauros as well, so that thing's going to be actually one-shot fodder for my Gallade on the bench. My opponent is actually playing Megamanectric and Mega Mewtwo. I think that's really, really cool. But for the time being, do I want to double puzzle for anything right now? First, I'm going to Trainer's Mail, see what I can get. Yeah, there's the Special Charge right there, but I'm going to grab the VS Seeker. Hold on to the Special Charge for later. Play the DCE onto the Shaymin. I mean, yeah, there's one DCE already in my discard pile. So, once I manually retreat with this Shaymin into my Aerodactyl, I will be, like, I can actually Special Charge for 2 DCE instead of just 1. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and double puzzle. Let's grab, I think, let's grab a Super Rod. That way I have more Aerodactyls. And then I think just grab, this is tough. You know what? Do I want to grab, do I want to do that? Yeah, let's go ahead and just get the DCE back into my hand. That way I have it for later. And then let's Premonition, see what I'm going to get. Ooh, I get a Computer Search. Do I want to use a Computer Search yet? See, this is the thing. With Premonition, you really have to think through your plays. So what I'm going to do is put the Special Charge on top, save my VS Seeker for next turn, Jet Draft, knock out the Mewtwo. I mean, this way, if my opponent still manages to knock out the Aerodactyl, I'll be fine. I get Talonflame and Twist Mountain. I mean, Twist Mountain would have been nice later. Oh, it would have been nice earlier in the game when I had the Aerodactyls in my hand. But you know what? It's fine. I was able to hit my old Ambers well enough. My opponent just promotes a Tauros. What I can do next turn is just Lysandre in the Shaymin, knock it out, or, I mean, my Gallade can even one-shot this Tauros. So my opponent is going to VS Seeker, grab the Lysandre. What's he going to bring up? Is he going to bring up the Shaymin? Because I can just retreat out. He's bringing up the Gallade. Okay. And then DCing up the Tauros is just going to hit me with a Horn Attack. However, I have the win at this point. What I'm going to do is just DCE up my Gallade. Special Charge. I mean, might as well just, in case something went wonky with my math, I might as well do this just in case something went wrong. And then let's Super Rod back in both Aerodactyl. That way I can have them later. And screw it. We're putting back Marowak. And then I could even Lysandre up the Shaymin and knock it out. But I think for the sake of this, I'm just going to Sycamore, get a brand new hand, which will allow me to one-shot this Tauros with Sensitive Blade. And this was a matchup where the, this was one of the matchups in Expanded of between competitive decks where Maxie's Aerodactyl actually has a beneficial matchup. So you saw what we were able to do. We were just able to hit for weakness every single time, discard special energies in the cases that we were not able to hit for weakness. And yeah, we were eventually able to come through and defeat my opponent. So, I mean, this is a very cool deck. It has some decent matchups in the expanded format, but overall I don't think it's super competitive, but it still is good enough that you can ladder with it and not just lose all the time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the deck. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.